Hello everyone. Welcome to Soul Journey again. Soul Journey is a space where we dive deep into spiritual experiences, wisdom, and knowledge, exploring a path that leads us back to our inner true self. And through heartfelt conversations with seekers, guides, and mystics, we uncover their learning to help us connect, evolve, and journey within its inner expansive state of being. So, if you have listened to our videos before and you have liked our messages and the videos, please do like and subscribe to our channel and share with others so that we can reach a wider audience, help them with these messages. In this particular episode, now I'm talking to Ralph Singh ji again. Ralph Singh is an author, educator, storyteller, and a community builder. He is a disciple of Baba Virsa Singh Ji Maharaj. Ralph has dedicated more than 40 years of his life integrating spirituality, values, and wisdom into education, community development, and public life. So let's hear what Ralph has to say. I will also share the link of our previous talk with him. So you can learn more about his life through that video as well. Welcome to Soul Journey again, Ralph Paji. I'm so grateful for your presence once again. It was a beautiful discussion last time, and your insights are very pious, and you generously shared your experience with Babaji.
My experiences with Babaji are endless, daily. They're such a source of light in the midst of this darkness that you can't turn away from them. Before we start our discussion and see where we are led by his grace, I'd like to just share a brief stanza from Japsab, which is
Yes, please.
Guru Gobind Singh's endless praises of God.
Yeah.
The endless. So this is Modipar Chand Tav Prasad. And I'll just read the English translation. Fount of all virtues, generous and merciful, infinite is thy glory. Eternal is thine existence, and incomparable thy grace. Self-resplendent and ever indestructible, infinite is thy might, O Lord of lords, O King of kings, Son of all sons, Lord of all angels, incomparable is thy glory. Lord of all Indras, greatest among the great, poorest among the poor, annihilator of death, beyond the physical elements, ever resplendent with light, of infinite speed beyond any measure, ever generous fount of virtues and treasures, worshipped by sages without fear or desire, of dazzling brilliance, indivisible and immeasurable. Thy actions spring from thy nature, thy laws from the noblest ideals. Thou adorn and fulfill the cosmos, unbound and unchallenged. In that next verse is Chachi Chand, Lord of the cosmos, great emancipator, ever compassionate and infinite, ultimate annihilator, primordial creator, who has no name nor desire. So what Babaji says about all times is constantly sing God's praises.
Yeah. Yes.
Constantly sing God's praises, nurture the light within us, generate the light within us, and then the darkness will slowly, well, maybe quickly pass. But our job is, on one hand, certainly speaking truth where we have an opportunity, but the point is, our job is to generate as much light as possible and share light with everyone, regardless of what their backgrounds are. Babaji's laughs. On one hand, he laughs. On the other hand, he gets very frustrated He said, when God is one, when all Dharam says God is one, when every prophet, Messiah, uh, Guru, Avatar, all say the same thing. Meditate on the one. Show love to the one. And you will be, then all wisdom, all gyan will be revealed to you. But those who have, are in their particular religious silos, end up being more interested in their own personal power or their own positions, or trying to say their way is the only way, when Babaji said there's only one God. There are many paths, but the way to all traditions teach meditation at their originally speak of meditation, speak of finding the light within us. And so, especially in dark times, I'm not saying leave the world, and I'm not saying don't express your frustration, but instead of spending so much time being frustrated, put that energy to work generating light within yourself, clearing your mind, and God will use us more to bring light in the world.
That's beautifully said, and that's why I think he used to emphasize on the reading of Japsab, because Japsab is all about praising God, and that's all that is.
It's 199 verses spanning 6 languages, from the Sanskritic to the Arabic, saying the God you call this is the same as the God they call that.
Yes. I remember reading Japsab for many years, not recently, but yes, for many years after, even, when Babaji told me to read that, and read it every day. I did for a few years, but then, I was led on a different path. Yeah.
Everyone who finds theirs. But
Yeah.
Japsab it's quite interesting. We still do have a Japsab prayer circle, small. People about anywhere from, I don't know, lots of people gather. But the point is, at one point we had a small Japsab circle in our home, and it would end up being, I think, 3 Christian ministers, a Catholic, and 2 Sikhs, who were us, all going around reading Japsab, taking line by line, going around in circles. And one of the new people who had joined was took some of these Japsabs back to her office. And the next week she came, she said, I don't know what this is, but all I know is it has incredible power. I said, what do you mean? I said, I had them on my bookshelf, and this friend walked into my office, and before she could come to me, she quickly turned and says, where is that power coming from? What is that? And and Judy told her, no, just take it and read it. It's full of light. And this woman at that point was quite depressed. And she took the Japsab with her. She said she put it in her car, and wherever she would go, she would find a quiet place and sit and recite it. And by the time a week passed, her depression had left her, and she was full of light.
Yeah, it generates a lot of energy. This is an English translation of the Japsab.
Yes.
I've never
Yes.
seen this book, actually.
Yeah, this is we did this when we were in residence in India. This is a nice one, which is only English. If you go to Gobind Sadan's website,
Okay.
www.gobindsadan.org, there is a whole pages on Japsab, where it's translated into 10 languages or something, and you can download the version that you want. But this is on there, and then there's another one which was translated by Surendranath under Babaji's guidance.
Translated by who? Can you?
Surendranath.
Okay. All right. I will look for that. Yeah. Look on the website too.
That has 3 languages. It has the original Punjabi, it has Hindi, and it has English translation, all 3. So that's also downloadable from the website for free.
So, Paji, did Babaji ever say about the current times that we are going through, that this is what is to happen? It's something like these are very dark times for, I think, every single country. There's not one country that seems to be in light. There's something or the other that's happening, either in terms of climatic disaster or religious conflicts, or some kind of strife between each other.
The sense is that towards, if you've ever watched a fireworks display, say on the 4th or any other holiday, towards the end of the fireworks, this incredible show of light firing off in all different directions. And then after that, there's great calm. This is like that at the very end. The conflicts come to a head, and then all the light, all their firing off happens, and then in the meantime, those who are bringing light in the world are preparing a new way forward, a new path forward. And so we shouldn't be, we should be disturbed, but we shouldn't be diverted from our path, and not let the darkness make us feel that the light is not powerful. It's even more powerful at this time for those who look to it and look within themselves. It's even a greater time for meditation and to find peace and power at this time. So people should not be discouraged. They should not lose hope. Rather, they should take that energy and either, on one hand, they can speak out but first let them go inside and gather the light that God gives each of us, clear our own minds, make sure we're free from our weaknesses, and our anger, and don't let hatred dominate us. Rather, let the love that's generated from here begin to, as it has, to dislodge this period of darkness.
Yes. Did Babaji ever say anything? There will be some kind of global peace and harmony at some stage, because the time when I think, during his time itself, we had seen, those the many riots, especially in India, between communities, and at that time, and of course globally, of course, in the Middle East, and things, lots of things were happening. Did he say that there will be calm, there will be change happening at some time?
He saw great changes, but his focus was, regardless of the changes, we can't stop the changes, but regardless of the stages, don't let us lose our paths. That was his focus, to help each individual overcome their weaknesses and generate more light, so that as they go forth in the world, regardless of what the conditions are, that they will be beacons for people to follow, so that we find our way into peace.
And what did he say about the primordial times, when there was no distinct philosophy or anything? Maybe it was all that was the Sanatan way of life, from what I understand. So did he say something when there was nothing? Because all these religions came much after. They're pretty recent, I would say. There must have been a time when there was a lot of global peace, harmony, and the spirit of, I would say, the Sanatan ultimate peace was there on this planet when it was created.
See, each time there are two different deals, like two different aspects. But one, he would always talk about the time when the saints, when the prophets would walk the earth, and it came at different times. And at each of their times, there was always a threat. Look at the time of Lord Ram, for example, when he took his, Babaji always says he took his bow and arrow and he cleared the areas around the sacred places that were being attacked by forces of evil, and he fought them off. Similarly, Guru Gobind Singh, when he came in the world and stood up against the oppressive forces of the time, it brought a sense of light forth. The problem always is we can praise those who bring God's message and sing their praises all the time, but what are we doing? So I'm not, I don't want to switch from your question or duck your question, but it's rather Babaji's answer is always, yes, those times were great. Yes, there was peace at that time, and those were the times of peace. But out of this, whether you call it Kali Yuga or Kali time, whatever you want to call it, out of this came great love and peace, and we should at once understand the mitlog, what I call it virtual reality. Virtual reality meaning all the wars, all the conflicts, all the disrespect for women, for those who are in different areas of the world who we don't respect, and unwillingness to take time to help those in need, that all would change. That would all change. And we'd be able to, that all the work of our coming together will ultimately triumph.
So, Padi, please share some of your own experiences. Last time you shared some very nice experience about when you first met Babaji, how you traveled from the US and coming to India and reaching him, and you meditated, for one whole day or 2 days, I think, and you were uplifted and you felt, what was that experience like? You know, a little bit more in detail if you can explain. He gave you a mantra to chant, and you sat down, and I mean, without any knowledge, without any questions, I believe you just did what you were asked to do.
And that, let me pick up on that last point, which is the whole goal of this course of life, so to speak, is to be able to live within the will of God. Whether you call it hukum, whether you call it bana, whether you call it razai, whatever term, is to learn to let our egos go and surrender to the will of God. And when you realize that everything is under God's order, everything from the greatest galaxy to the tiniest particle is all resounding in God's love and singing God's praises in its own way, all of nature. And the idea is that they're all part of that order. but human beings are really the only species who are out of sync because we're so full of ourselves that we can't let ourselves go. So on one hand, you can be taught by a book or by that this is the way you should do it. On the other hand, you can have a direct spiritual experience. So you come to you're drawn to the feet of a great holy light like Babaji, and he is literally, his greatness was it didn't matter what somebody called themselves, how they identified themselves, atheist, religious person, what it didn't matter to him. He saw the love, the light within them and would flip the switch on. And suddenly they understood what God was and were no longer, it was hard to, they could no longer be called atheists because they absolutely experienced that light. And so this is all his grace, that I came in search on a sort of traditional quest. And he was kind enough to bless me. That's all I can say. Transform my life through Nam within the Sikh tradition, Nam, God's holy name, meditation on Nam and through Nam and with Nam is given as the way to connect, because Nam is the primordial sound that is in all creation and resonates throughout the cosmos. And when we're able to attune our minds to Nam, we get carried, we get linked, for lack of a better term. And so that was my experience. Do you have specific questions that you want?
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand how did you feel, when you were in that state of bliss? What was it like? I'm very curious to know that.
It was like nothing you could ever experience. It was like being in well, on one hand, it was being fully, like your whole being is totally charged, just light and power flowing through you, like at an unbelievable rate and speed. Your mind was shown like you were just sitting, experiencing the whole thing. You felt you had no control over it. You felt that there was this great power which had sprung up from within you, but was all around you, that you were connected cosmically on a cosmic level to everything, that all of existence, that it was the same force, the same life force, the same force that was flowing through all creation, both animate and inanimate, that it was beyond any description, that it was, and then within space, it felt like your body, your whole body was connected to this endless bundle of energy, bundles of energy, as if you had high tension beyond. I can't give adequate description to the sense that you had this. If you can imagine a cosmic cable that stretched across the universe from the original, when God spoke, all in sub bij samana, in that out of that original voice of God. Now you hear people may interpret it as the Big Bang. That's just for this. That's just for this universe. What about all the millions of universes beyond that? But out of that one sound of God, everything was seeded. All the future was seeded out of that. Now imagine that sound was reverberating through your being at all times, and you were part of that. Again, I use the term, a column. Imagine a column of light throughout, one column stretching from the very beginning out endlessly into the cosmos. And you were drawn into that, not burned by it, but drawn into it as part of it. And you were a tiny little speck of, beyond a tiny speck, the smallest, and yet you're still part of it. It's still part of us. That's the most amazing thing. The most amazing thing is that we, in Guru Gobind Singh's Bani and Guru Bani, it says, like sparks coming out of a fire, that they're very bright and they go into, and yet in an instant they fall back in the fire and vanish. Or the foam on a wave as it crests out of the ocean and has its own shape, and then suddenly rejoins the ocean and disappears again. Our life is like that we come in a flash, we're gone again. And yet during this lifetime of ours, we feel we're so great. We feel we have so much power that we're going to exert over everybody else around us. And in an instant, we're gone and sometimes happily forgotten. But the only thing that remains is God's name. It's God's name. That part will always be with us.
Beautiful. So did you feel the presence of any other light beings or, um, any superior, supreme beings or presence of God within that light? Did you feel as though, because we tend to believe in tangible forms. So even in that, in that light, did you feel somebody there, some presence of that?
All my life, I have heard Babaji speaking to me from the time I was a child.
Wow.
So I didn't know who it was, but there was a voice and a companion with me at all times from the time I was a child. And I had that great experience where he appeared to me in a vision in New York, and then I took off on a quest to find him, and was brought face to face with Baba Virsa in a small village outside of New Delhi. And I had no idea where I was going. I had no idea he existed. And so why would I look for any other being? I only wanted to see him and whatever he had to teach me. But having said that, when I would sit and meditate at the oven that he had created there, and that oven has been burning in the same place for 24 hours, 7 days a week since 1968. And the power there is so palpable that people would come and do seva or whatever, and whatever they needed or whatever was going on with their family would all be settled. But I was taken up in this sort of reverie and shown all those who brought messages from Sanatana Dharma all the way through to our gurus. And at one point, they arose out of, actually, they said to me, we're all one family. It's so discouraging to us, so disappointing to us to see how people who we take our time, we give our lives, we sacrifice ourselves to help people out overcome their hatred, and yet we'll only leave the world for a short time and they're back at it again. But why can't people get over their conflicts? Where we come, we give our lives, we give our families' lives. Guru Gobind Singh gave his entire family, both his parents, his children, and he himself gave everything so that we could be free of negativity and learn to live in peace, modern India wouldn't exist if he hadn't. The modern world wouldn't exist. And so these are things. So they first spoke to me, but then out of the grouping, Jesus arose on one side and our gurus arose on the other, and they merged into Babaji's image. I'll never forget that, ever forget it. So why would I, for me especially, with my experience and then that kind of vision, I wasn't looking for anyone else. It's all the same. It's all the same. And we're taught, he teaches us to love everybody, to love Lord Jesus, to love Lord Ram, to love Lord Krishna, to love the prophet, peace be upon him, to love everyone who's brought light and brought the message, Moses and Abraham, and in all the traditions.
This is a beautiful experience. I wonder if you ever thought of writing your experiences in the form of a...
As a matter of fact, it's funny that you should ask, as they say, because I was able to publish a memoir of my experiences. It's called A Path to Follow, A Life to Lead. And I am struggling, and I'll to find time to turn it into a Kindle so it can be readily accessible to people. And that sort of chronicles a lot of the experiences that I'm speaking about, but hundreds more.
Yes. If there is a link for that, is it available on the web somewhere?
It has not been, the book is a very heavy thing to mail. And that's one of the reasons I'm creating the Kindle. When the Kindle is done, hopefully in a month, then I'll let you give a link to it and people can enjoy it.
Yes, I would like to add that link to the video description below the. And is the book available at this time?
I have only a few copies. It's been it's not out of print, but it's, well, yeah, they haven't done another print run in a while. So if somebody really wants a copy urgently, I would urge them to wait a little while, and I promise the Kindle will be out, and then they can easily get it. This way, I found that the shipping sometimes costs more than the book.
Yes, and that's true. That's very, very true. But I'm glad that I asked you this. Last time I don't remember asking you about a book or any memoir that kind of.
And Babaji, the translations which were made of Babaji's talks, which there are countless talks, but many have been translated into English, and one was put into a very beautiful little book called Loving God, which summarizes his key teachings, and that's available to download from the website free of charge. A great spiritual devotee of his, Mary Pat Fisher, who is the author of Prentice Hall's best-selling Living Religions as a college textbook, who I had met at a conference and invited to meet Maharaj. And she was so taken that she devoted the rest of her life. And she's living in Gobind Sadan currently. And she put this from her journalistic experience and compiled this little book called Loving God. And that is available on the website. And then we have several others that are there.
I will look for this link and I will post that link at least, for people who want to. I will read it for sure. Right. Yes. So tell us some experiences that you have had with Babaji, like anything that you may want to share. Did you see any people transforming their lives when they have, probably you met them when they met Babaji for the first time, and then after a few years, you saw some changes in them, or that they had some interesting experiences, maybe in their personal life or spiritual life.
There's so many, I just have to think of a few. There are a circle of friends uh, who had, I was teaching a course at a private day school called Exploring Spirituality some 25 years ago. Uh, and there were, uh, they asked me to do an adult class, an adult ed class. And so at the end of the adult ed class, uh, the group got together and said, we want to go on a field trip. And I thought they meant go to various religious sites around and learn more. And they said, no, no, we want to go to India with you. We want to go to Gobind Sadan and experience that. And so we all got on a plane and went over, and Babaji was waiting for them. He knew everybody was coming, and he blessed each of them. And so that's 30 years and 25 years that they have been, uh, their ways have been lit, for lack of a better term, full of light, and they continue to spread light wherever they go. And so that's in terms of transformation, the point is always, regardless of where somebody's at, there's always an opening and an uplift that comes, that takes you from, it isn't just amplification, it can shift your path. So you're suddenly going directly up instead of parallel to the ground, if that makes sense.
Yes, somewhat going up is, definitely high in spirit, high in spiritual awareness. And how do you feel, how do you look at, if you compare yourself with, or maybe compare the person or these children who had visited Gobind Sadan with you, what was their way of thinking and talking and, just interacting with people before they met Babaji and after this transformation over a period of time? What was, of course, they started spreading the light and they must have transformed something, but what was their kind of behavior before? What was it what was their mindset before?
The mindset is always, it isn't always, but until somebody has a direct spiritual experience, who comes in the presence of one who is one with God, as Babaji is, uh, you cannot, you may read your prayers in your tradition, you may see the movies or read the history, but you really don't believe it. You may have faith, but it's hard to believe. And in some ways, I don't blame people, because if you haven't experienced God, how can you believe all the things you've read, especially if you're very intelligent and scientific and all this kind of stuff. But once you've experienced, there's no denying. And so I think that's the point, that he brought people and still brings people face to face with God and gives them that direct experience. And so their depth of faith, their depth of understanding is endlessly greater than where it started. And even some who weren't so sure about whether God existed. It was pretty clear to them afterwards. And I think that part of the problem is that people don't, as Babaji said, people don't spend enough time in meditation, sometimes no time in meditation. And it's a lifelong practice for lifetimes and lifelong. And that out of that, we work on ourselves and build the light.
So, Bhaji, tell me one thing. What was Babaji's way of meditation? I know that one instruction was to read Japsab. Second instruction was to chant the Mool Mantra. And he would give those woolen beads. The
Yes,
rosary was of
yes. Mala,
woolen
yeah.
fabric, or
They were woolen. They were
yeah,
woolen.
yes,
A particular family, that
yeah.
was their seva. They made those for everybody. But not but, and Babaji gave Nam to everybody as he had been given to him by Guru Nanak, Baba Siri Chandi. Ek Onkar Sat Nam Siri Vaheguru. 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 Now, when people meditate, we usually tell them first recite it out loud, but then be quiet and listen to your mind reciting it. That is meditation. As you listen to the sound, you may intone it, but then you be quiet and just listen. And as your mind picks up Ek Onkar Satnam Sri Vaheguru, Ek Onkar Satnam Sri Vaheguru. And then just like your favorite song, which may echo in your mind, this continues to echo, and if you miss it, you just be quiet and grab it again. You don't want to lose it. You just want to hold on to it because it just continually lifts you clear. When we say sa simano Gobind, it continually cleanses your mind and continually brings the light in it.
So that time Babaji was initiating his disciples. Now, is there anybody who does the initiate? I mean, who has taken up the responsibility?
Everybody, everybody shares Nam with everyone. At this point, he they asked him who would succeed you. Have you chosen? There was no such thing. There was no such thing. He put people in charge of prayer, and right now, as I said, Mary Pat Fisher, who I brought to him, is offers prayers in the evening at what's called Jesus's place, and prays for people. And then Hardeep Singh in the Dera that offers prayers for people, and he's gets up every hour on the half hour and offers prayers 24 hours a day. So that's quite tapasya. When people talk about tapasya, that's quite the tapasya. And then everybody share Nam. Well, everybody can, but Babaji allowed me to share Nam with people. But the key thing is not who's in his place, because what he wants is for everybody to feel his presence with them and feel the presence of God within them.
That's beautifully explained, Paji. And anything else that you may want to share?
Let us leave it till next time. I think you've drawn a huge, it's always such a joy because it brings me back
Yeah.
and makes me relive those experiences. Not that I don't anyway, but this certainly gives me an opportunity to relive those wonderful experiences. And next time I'll share more.
Yes. Thank you so much for being with Soul Journey. And I'm sure people who are listening to this will thoroughly enjoy and take their next step and think about what God is, and where truth is going to lead them to, and take a chance and practice and start somewhere, whatever that clicks, whatever that resonates within.
So if they have no particular path, or even if they have a path, recite Ek Onkar Satnam Sri Vaheguru, Ek Onkar Satnam Sri Vaheguru, and it will bring you closer to whomever you look to. Babaji always said, whoever your Isht, whoever you look to as the form of God or your messenger, look to him in your mind or in your mind, see them manifest in your mind, and as you recite Ek Onkar Satnam Sri Vaheguru, just focus on them, and you'll be drawn further into their presence. Babaji always would laugh. He said, there is only one Mira. There are lots of people who say they're devotees, but there's one Mira who's remembered for merging herself into Lord Krishna, who really saw them. And that's what he wants people to understand, that those experiences are real and that everything grows out of love. So I'll just leave you with that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And thank your listeners.
I thank you. It's a beautiful message. The last part of it was very beautiful and very strong, lovely, compassionate, caring, anything that you can mention. It's a beautiful message. And for us to wake up to truth now.
Like Ralph Singh, like for day. Blessings to everybody.
Thank you, Paji. Thank you.